is the founder of Memoir for Me, a life storybook company. She loves to dig into the stories behind photos, and you'll soon understand why. Give it up for Nora.
Thanks for the tips, by the way. All right. Doesn't it seem like there's a lot of people out there living a perfect life? Wherever you look, there you are. Lots of images. This is how I thought pregnancy was going to be like. For real. For real. I totally did. But when reality struck, this is more what it felt like. I was completely shocked. I was surprised how sore, swollen, I had heartburn, I waddled. Oh, it sucked. It was so far from picture perfect. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why? We compare and we feel less than when our reality doesn't match the picture perfect that we have in our head. We do this with families too, especially at this time of year. As families are gathering for Thanksgiving, we have a perfect idea of what it's supposed to look like. Now, I also have a flair for nostalgia, so I like to look through my parents' old pictures. And looking at them, I can't help but think, life was more perfect. Well, I happened to ask my parents about their childhoods, and it was a lot more like this. And this looks a little more familiar to me. Now, they loved each other, but they were not above throwing punches at each other. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'd like to say the picture doesn't mean much without those words, without those stories behind them. Last time I was here, I spoke about my dad's life. This time I'd like to talk a little bit about my mom's experience. This is my mom, over here on your right, and her two sisters. And the one in the middle, look at her face. That's my fun Aunt Nene. Shocking, right? When I talked to them about growing up with 4 sisters, Aunt Nene always said, the first one out of the house was the best dressed. And on this picture, she was the first one out of the house. And the one in the back that's pouting, well, Noreen's wearing her sweater. So I just love that anecdote so much. And knowing that story makes me love this photo all the more, right? And I also have newfound appreciation for the parents behind them that are my grandparents who I never met. It's true. Behind every photo, there are stories. Some hilarious, some sad, some brave, but all real. And it's the stories that sum up a life better than a picture ever could. These are the same people as the last slide. We forget that our parents and grandparents were once young, attractive people just fumbling around doing the best that he or she can do. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Take this woman. This is Oma Ida. This is the grandma of a client of mine. To me, when I saw this picture, she looked like the stock photo grandma. Like if you type in Google, you type in grandma. What I didn't know, once I heard their story, is she was a German Jew during World War II, trapped in an internment camp in southwest France. Her family did not make it out, but she did, and she was given a Bible by the Jewish nuns that emancipated the camp. And that Bible was used by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she swore in on the U.S. Supreme Court. Now that's a story. And you never know it looking at the picture of Oma Ada, right? So what does this all mean? In our visually obsessed society, how do we see life more clearly? Ask more questions. This is something that I've done a lot of since founding a life storybook company in 2015. I've gotten down to the truth behind those perfect family photos. Because behind every photo lies a million stories just waiting to be shared. I've interviewed over 150 people, and I've learned to never assume that I know someone just by looking at them, or even looking through their old family photos. And it's made me a lot happier too, as a woman and as a parent. You know, I can't say I've stopped. I've cut back on comparing my life to the visual representation of others. After interviewing, I realized Nobody knew what they were doing. And my parents were no exception to this rule. My understanding of their life has helped me make peace of my own life. So this Thanksgiving, I encourage you, if you're lucky enough to be surrounded by family, consider pulling out those old photos. But don't stop there. Ask questions. Assume nothing. You'll find that the stories make the pictures and life itself more beautiful. Thank you.